Caroline Des Rosiers is standing by in Montreal. She is with Hydro-Quebec. Caroline, thanks for your time today.
Good afternoon.
Can you give us an update on how many customers currently without power in your province?
Of course, so currently around Quebec, across Quebec, we have approximately 208,000 customers who are still without power. And as you were mentioning, the most affected areas right now is the greater Montreal. So the island of Montreal, as well as the North Shore of the island.
Yeah, we're going to show a scan from Hydro-Quebec just to give our viewers across the country a sense of where some of these power outages are right now and what it might look like, of course, for people who are living in some of these areas. And we see, of course, Montreal, huge population center. So there's a lot of people still without power there, and to the north, some of the suburbs as well. What does this look like for you guys in terms of, deploying your people out there, Caroline?
So it's a storm that we saw coming. We were ready to intervene, and right now we have over 1,200 workers who are on the ground working to get people back on the grid since very early this morning. During the night, we did have some people working on the emergency, and we have had over 1,000 people on the ground since early this morning. And, since the beginning of the outages, there was up to 600,000 customers who were affected at one time or another, and since then we got back over 400,000 customers on the grid. So it's going well, but what we're seeing is that the storm is ongoing. So you mentioned wind gusts, heavy snow. So as we are working to restore the power outages, more outages are being declared. So that's a difficulty, and that's why we are seeing the numbers go down a bit, go up a bit, and that's what we're going to continue seeing in the next few hours probably. But we are aiming to have everyone who had lost power, who was affected this morning, we are aiming to have a majority of them back on the grid by tonight. But unfortunately, we do know that some of the outages will last until tomorrow because our workers are working in very difficult conditions. You can see it outside. The snow is not stopping, as well as the wind.
Yeah, we were showing some footage, and maybe we can bring that back just to give people watching, a sense of what it's like right now in Montreal, which is, really seems to be the hardest hit area with all that snow on the trees and on the streets, and the city of Montreal out there trying to clear it as best as they can. It's also a different situation, right, for you guys, Caroline. Like in a major urban center like Montreal, it's easier to restore power. When you start to get out further, it can be a little bit trickier. You got to deploy your crews out there. You got to get reports from people. There could be down power lines, which means rebuilding them. It gets a little more complicated.
Yeah, so there are damages on the network, and we're seeing that the snow that's very heavy because it was very wet fell on branches that fell on the network. So the road conditions are difficult as well. So that's an added challenge for our teams. But in Montreal, a lot of teams are working because there are a lot of outages concentrated in those areas, and we're working with an order of priority. So we're looking at the work that's going to get the most people back at once being prioritized. So if we have an outage that's affecting 1,000 people, that's the one that we're targeting first. And as you mentioned, if people are if an outage is further away, usually it affects a small number of people. So in the tomorrow, let's say, work will continue mostly for the more complex or the outages that are further, so and affecting a very little number of people, because we are going in order of priority to get people back on the grid as soon as possible. So if we're working with the larger outages first.
Caroline Des Rosiers is with Hydro-Quebec, joining us from Montreal. Big power outage there. Thanks for your time, Caroline. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right.